All right, let's talk about the future of XRP. Today, we're going to cut through all the hype, all the speculation, and really dig into its potential for 2026. And we're not just guessing here. We're going to use a really powerful framework called the generative wealth equation. So let's put this equation to the test and see what it really tells us about where XRP might be headed.
So here's the big question, right? Is there some secret formula for figuring out crypto wealth? Well, there's no magic bullet, of course. But what we can do is move beyond just gut feelings and tweets. We can find a much more structured way to understand an asset's real value. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this explainer. Apply a powerful formula and see what it shows us.
And here it is, the generative wealth equation. Now, I want you to think of it like a three-legged stool. You've got utility, adoption, and liquidity. If one of those legs is weak, the whole thing is wobbly. You need real-world use. You need people and institutions actually using it. And you need the money flowing freely. This isn't just a theory. This is the lens we're going to use to analyze everything from here on out.
Okay, so let's start with the most important piece of our equation, the foundation, utility. What problem does XRP actually solve in the real world? We're about to break down the core strengths that really are the bedrock of its entire value proposition.
First up, and this is a big one, is something most other crypto assets just don't have: regulatory clarity. You know, after that huge case with the SEC, XRP got this unique status in the US as a non-security. That is a massive green light. It unlocks the door for major institutions, and we're already seeing the effects. Spot ETFs from big names like Bitwise and WisdomTree. Plus, Ripple is going after a national trust bank charter. That tells you everything you need to know about their plan to build a bridge between the old and new financial worlds.
And of course, you can't talk XRP utility without talking about what it was built for: payments. Ripple's on-demand liquidity, or ODL, it uses XRP to settle money across borders in seconds, not days. And look, this isn't just some idea on a whiteboard. It's live. You've got huge partnerships with players like MasterCard and SBI Holdings making it happen. And check this out. Ripple's own stablecoin, RLUSD, has already blown past $1 billion in supply. That shows you there is real, tangible demand inside its ecosystem.
And here's where that utility really starts to blend into the next part of our equation, which is adoption. Just look at this number. Over 300. That's how many banks and financial institutions are already plugged into the RippleNet payment network. This isn't just about having a cool piece of tech. It's about a network with deep, real-world roots in the financial industry. And that is absolutely key for creating lasting value.
But the utility story doesn't end with payments, not by a long shot. The XRP ledger is seriously evolving. It's becoming a legit platform for DeFi and tokenization. We're talking upgrades that bring in native lending, automated market makers, even privacy features. Plus, there's a huge focus on tokenizing real-world assets, things like real estate. The XRPL is basically transforming into this institutional-grade hub for the future of finance. And this expansion is so critical because it just opens up brand new pathways for adoption and, you guessed it, liquidity.
So, we've got the foundation. That's solid utility. But what really lights the fire? Now we're going to look at the other side of our equation, the specific events, the catalysts for adoption and liquidity that could create a huge tipping point as we head into 2026. Now this timeline, it tells a story. It's all about momentum building on itself. It kicks off with a major tech upgrade at the end of 2025. Then, bam, early 2026, Ripple's stablecoin is set to launch in a key market like Japan. By the middle of the year, analysts are projecting those spot ETFs could pull in $5 to $7 billion. And to cap it off, by late 2026, new privacy tools could finally bring the big institutional players into its DeFi ecosystem. You can see how each step is designed to be a domino, knocking over the next one. All right, so we've loaded up our equation. We've got solid utility multiplied by some really powerful catalysts for adoption and liquidity. So what does the equation spit out on the other side? What could all of this actually mean for XRP's price in 2026?
Now look, no formula is a crystal ball, right? So analysts have mapped out 3 main scenarios based on how these catalysts might play out. In a bearish case, we're looking at a price between $1.50 and $2.50. The base case, which is kind of what you'd expect if things just keep chugging along, sits between $2.50 and $4. But in a really bullish scenario, the price could push past $4, maybe even hitting $6 or higher.
So let's dig into the why behind those numbers. The bearish scenario? That's all about potential roadblocks, maybe some regulatory speed bumps, or just a rough economy overall. The base case? Well, that just assumes things continue on the track they're on now.
But that bullish case, that's where you see the full power of our equation. That scenario really depends on a full-scale successful launch of the RLUSD stablecoin and a huge surge in DeFi activity. You know, that total value locked, as the tokenization of real-world assets really takes off. The most important thing here is that each of these scenarios is tied to tangible, real-world events.
So after running XRP through this whole generative wealth equation, we get to the real takeaway. It's all about learning to look past the short-term noise and focus on a much more sustainable, a much more real model for how value is actually created.
At the end of the day, there are really two paths to value in the crypto world. On one side, you've got hype. It's all about speculation, social media, what's trending right now. It's exciting, for sure, but it can be gone in a flash. On the other side, you have utility-driven value. This is built on a solid foundation of actually solving real problems for real people and real institutions. The entire case for XRP, as laid out by our equation, sits firmly in that second camp.
And this quote right here, man, it just perfectly captures that long-term vision. This isn't about being the next overnight meme coin. It's about becoming a fundamental, foundational piece of the financial plumbing of tomorrow. A cornerstone that connects the old financial world with the new one.
You know, the entire world of finance is shifting under our feet. These new decentralized systems are coming up fast, but the traditional world, it's not just going to vanish overnight. So bridges are being built between the two. And the ultimate question our equation leaves us with is this: as that new world gets built, which of those bridges are being engineered with the kind of real utility and adoption they'll need to actually stand the test of time?
Please subscribe and like.